Erev Tov, we're in Derech Hashem, Chelek Aleph, Perek Gimel, and we're towards the end, Oshid Gimel, the last section, and we should be finishing tonight. But we'll recap last week. It was a bit intricate last week, and it'll flow into this week's. So we'll back up till about Yud Aleph and Yud Beis, and then we'll continue on to Yud Gimel. So the subject is talking about the Guf and the Neshama at the time that they're separated from each other. The Guf and the Neshama, man is comprised of two parts. He's a composite, like he says earlier, that Hashem made that man shouldn't just be one unit, but he's two units that are combined. He's made up of a Guf and a Neshama. The Guf he calls Artzi, it's an earthly Achor. Just to point out the word that he uses before, on page 22, in the beginning of this parak, so he said that man is comprised of two opposites, a Neshama Sichlis V'Zaka, an intelligent and pure soul, and a Guf Artzi V'Achor. And a earthly and Achor could be cloudy, befuddled, bemuddled, something that's not the opposite of Zach. Zach means pure, and this is the opposite of Zach, Achor. When the Gemara talks about muddy water, the murky water, so it calls it Achor. So just I'd like to make mention of that word because we'll have mention of it later on again. So man is comprised of two halves. Something that is more leaning to one. The Neshama is spiritual and the Guf is physical. Physical doesn't only mean tangible, even if it's not tangible, but the physical animal, like
the emotions, are also
could be physical. He says later on that also might be considered physical. He says it's like the animal life. The animal life force is still considered physical. So even that in man also.
Wisdom.
Right. So the wisdom of animals is considered physical, even though it's a brain and something that's whatever it's making it work, that's still considered physical. And man also has that in him. Besides, he also has a spiritual neshama. And subject, so man has a few different stages in life, death. He has when it's joined together in our lifetime, and then after death, so then the guf and the neshama are separated. And by Tchias HaMesim, the unification again of the Guf and the Neshama.
The human's mind greater than the animal, is that anything?
That wouldn't make it, l'chora not. That just make it a more sophisticated animal. That wouldn't yet show that there's spirituality to it. He makes mention of this later on. As we're going to go on, we'll see more about that. So in Os Yud Aleph, backing up, so he said that at the time that the body and the soul are separated, so each one has to have a place and a function, so to speak, of what they're doing when they're separated. We know what man does while he's in this world, when the soul and the body are united, and he talks about what happens when at the time of separation, from death until Tchias HaMesim. It's only temporary because they're going to be reunited again at the time of Tchias HaMesim. But what happens in the time of separation? So he says the guf, we know that has to be decomposed in a way that it returns back to the dust, as it says, Ki afar tov el afar tashuv, and that is a way that it's going to be purified. It's purified. It's purified from the zuama that Nachash. This is not a lashon that he says over here, but a lashon that he says in Das Tunis, that by the chait, by the sin of Adam Arishon, so that caused the contamination of the guf. That contamination is called like the filth that the serpent placed in man's guf. We'll get also more elaboration about that, but the guf became ruined because of the contamination of the sin.
Even in the physical.
You could call it in the physical also. And that's what has to happen to the guf while it's decaying, decomposing, and then it's going to eventually be rebuilt in a way that there'll be Tchias HaMesim. There'll be a guf again that's going to be rebuilt. But the main subject that he talks about is what's done with the neshama at the time of this separation. During the time that the neshama and the guf are separated, where and what happens to the neshama on its own. It's separated from the guf, so it's a spiritual being. What's its issue? So he refers us to something called Olam HaNeshamos, the world of souls. It doesn't mean that it's a different planet. So we're not talking about something physical, but there's a place that the neshamos have. Hashem made a place for the neshama alone, not together with the body, just the soul alone. And other places, the Ramchal refers to that as Gan Eden. And that's not yet Tchias HaMesim, that's not yet when the Neshama and the Guf are joined together, that's the Neshama alone. You can call it Gan Eden or you can call it Olam HaNeshamos. And over there, the Neshama is enjoying somewhat similar to what it's going to have eventually in eternity of Tchias HaMesim, but it's not yet that. It isn't the full full-blown reward that the neshama is going to experience when it's together with the guf. That's only possible after Tchias HaMesim, together with the guf. But at this point, it's by itself, Olam HaNeshamas, and it's enjoying something that it deserves because of its actions that it did in its lifetime. The temporary reward of Olam HaNeshamas. But the main point that he wanted to explain was in Os Yud Beis, the next section, and he says that there's also a benefit for the neshama also during that period. Not only is it just starting, the first point he made was that it has to wait for the guf. The guf is not ready yet, and it has to wait. So while it's waiting, you make a waiting room, and the waiting room is also made to be an enjoyable waiting room. So at this point, he didn't say that the neshama has any benefit from being there, besides that it's waiting. And while it's waiting, there will be enjoyment that it deserves, somewhat. But in Os Yud Beis, he goes on with a big chiddush, that the neshama itself is also benefiting from being in Olam HaNeshamas in a way that it's going to benefit itself, and also it's going to benefit the guf, the body, when it gets together again in Tchias HaMesim. And what is that? Just to explain the kasha is bothering him would be that the guf, we know that it was ruined by the sin, but the neshama l'chora was not ruined, and therefore the neshama is a pure being. And what does it gain by being in Olam HaNeshamas? The guf has to be decaying and decomposing in a way that whatever filth was internalized into the guf, so by going through this stage of decomposure and decay, so it's going to be cleansed of that filth. The zuama shitl bo nachash. But what does the neshama gain? The heart is no gain. The neshama is a pure being to start with. So what does it gain from being in Olam HaNeshamas? So the Akdama, the preface that he gives to this subject, was that the neshama, as it does masim tovim, it should be being elevated more and more. The neshama itself was created as a holy spiritual being. The more that it does mitzvahs, it should be getting higher and higher. But the fact that it's connected to the guf is holding it back. The fact that they're connected, they're united, the body and the soul are united, so that holds back the neshama from being what it should have been, what it's gaining. It's really deserving. It's getting more and more deserving. But it's contained. The word that he uses is that it's kavush. It's kavush ba'atzmo, suppressed and contained within itself, and it can't radiate its true essence. The fact that it's doing more and more mitzvahs, it should be getting higher and higher, it's on a higher level, and it should be able to radiate more and more. But the fact that it's connected to the guf and the neshama are connected in our lifetime, and by the sin by the sin that caused that there should be a zuama, some kind of a tumah in the guf, and that's not separated from it in its lifetime. So this partnership of the soul and the body being connected together, and the guf went so low because it was lowered and ruined because of the fact that it sinned, that holds back the neshama also from radiating its real essence. So even though it deserves it already, the main point is going to say that it deserves it already, the neshama in its lifetime, that it did mitzvahs, so it should deserve to radiate more and more. But the fact that it's bound to a guf, and the guf is the evil is became inherently connected to the guf, so the neshama, who is bound to the guf, also is restrained from radiating its true essence. So in our lifetime, the neshama is not able to give off its full radiance. It's contained, it's suppressed. And that is a loss to the neshama in many ways. The guf is surely losing from it. It isn't the neshama's fault. It's the guf's fault. If we put it, we're not trying to blame anybody. It's not the point of blaming. But the reason why the neshama cannot radiate its essence is because it's connected to the guf. The guf is losing out from that because since the neshama is not radiating its essence, it's not able to affect the guf. We said that the guf and the neshama, they really have a yachas gomlim. They have a effect on each other. And the more that the neshama would radiate, they would be able to purify the guf. But the neshama is being suppressed, and it's not able to purify the guf. The reason why it's suppressed is because it's connected to such a kind of a guf, which is has the evil internalized into it. The ra davukbo, the word that he uses is that the ra is davukbo, the evil is davuk to the guf, and the neshama is bound to the neshama. So that causes the whole chain of events. That the neshama, the soul, being connected to such a guf, is not able to radiate its full essence, and since it's not able to radiate its full essence, it's not able to purify the guf. In other words, just to make that the guf, the body we may say, would be able to be purified, but the fact that that evil part, that zuama, that filth, is not able to be purified. That has to be separated from the guf. The fact that filth is connected to the guf, that holds back the neshama from being able to give out its full radiance, and since it doesn't give out its radiance, it's not purifying the guf. So it says the guf itself loses out because it's not being purified. But then he said also that the neshama is also losing out. What is the neshama? First of all, that it's not the fact that it's being suppressed. That is a deficiency in the neshama, that its true radiance is not able to be let out. The second thing he says is that the fact that it's not purifying the guf is a loss to the neshama itself. Not only that fact that it's being suppressed is a problem for the neshama, but the fact that it can't go on to purify the guf, that's a loss for the neshama. And he says that's on two planes, on two reasons. One is because purifying the guf is a act of shleimus. The same way anybody would influence somebody to be good, that's an act of shleim, act of perfection. And to make somebody more tohor, more kadosh, even in our world, when you do that, you influence somebody to become more yarei shamayim. So that's a beautiful accomplishment, and it's a shleimus. So the neshama also, when it's able to purify the guf, that would have been a shleimus on the part of the neshama. And since it's held back from doing that, so it's losing out. The second thing he says is that anything that is able to do it, the purpose it was created for, is a shleimus. Anything that Hashem made, anything that accomplishes its purpose, is a perfection. And if it's held back from doing what it's supposed to do, that's what it was created for. And it's not able to do that, so it's also a deficiency for the neshama. It's not able to do its job. All that is caused in the world at the time when the neshama is connected to the guf, and that holds it back from being able to radiate the radiance that it deserves because of its righteousness that it did in this world. All that changes at the time of Olam HaNeshamos, when the person dies and the neshama is separated from the guf. So it isn't held back anymore. And now the neshama is able to give out its full radiance in the Olam HaNeshamos. And over there it's getting stronger and stronger, leaving out all that is deserved. You might say a mashal of a battery that was energized. They plugged in the battery to be energized, but it was not yet connected. It was not yet let out. It wasn't able to radiate its energy. So that is happening in Olam Hazeh. In Olam Hazeh, while a person was still connected to his guf, so by doing mitzvahs, he was energizing his neshama, but it was still suppressed and compressed in it, constrained. It wasn't able to give out any of that. But in Olam HaNeshamos, then it's able to give out that radiance that it already deserved. But it's not able to affect the guf until it's going to be Tchias HaMeis, and then it's going to be connected, and with all its strength, it's going to come into the newly rebuilt guf, and then the neshama is going to be able to purify that guf with all the radiance that it has given out. I would just like to read it again, because last week, even though we read the words, but I think that it was lacking some understanding, explanation, and I think I got it better this week. So if we can start again from Yud Beis, and then we'll go on to finish Yud Gimel, and see what he adds on that we didn't see yet. So if we can start again from Os Yud Beis, we'll do it a little bit faster than last week, because now it's already understood.
There's more question. Why is it all or nothing? How come we can't partially, yes, be purifying this neshama and these good? Aren't the big tzaddikim doing that? I understand that as a klali, as we don't get there, but surely there are great tzaddikim who are constantly involved with avodas hakodesh, teaching, and mashpiyim on people that they. Everything
is relative, but when you talk about what man is supposed to be, so the sin of the Nachash brought down the sin of the sin of Adam HaRishon, not the Nachash, the sin of Adam HaRishon, that brought humanity down to a level that even though relatively we see great people, but that's not what man really is supposed to be. And even as much as he's doing greatness, but the guf is already mekulkal in a way that it can't be rectified, it has to go through death. The Gemara does say that there are four, Abra Meitzu Be'et Yoshel Nachash. You're talking about four people in all of humanity that on their own they wouldn't have died, they wouldn't have deserved, they would have been able to transform into eternity without having to die. But the sin of Adam HaRishon, which covers all mankind, so that is something in the essence of mankind that even they couldn't have done it without death. So everybody dies.
The four are Avrohom.
Who are the four? Anybody recall the four? Yishai, the father of David, killer of the son of David.
Benjamin?
Maybe. Anybody else? I don't think so. Next week I'll try to come back with it. I think it's a Gemara on Shabbos. I'll try to come back with which four died only because of the Eitz Shel Nachash. The Gemara talks about Moshe Rabbeinu. That's how the subject comes in. But I'll try to. I think not Amram.
But they, meaning they inherently, when they were born, automatically had something wrong.
I think so because everyone is.
Everyone else in the whole world also did another sin.
That seems that it would right. That's what it seems like. That even people who didn't sin.
Next, and what happens to besides for those four people, the rest of mankind, what happens to their sins?
So everybody has to go through the purification of what's happening. That after everyone goes through death, and
besides from the nachash, the other sins.
So it's also going to. So it's also right. That will also purify that also. But those people, they only die because of the sin of the nachash, and not because of their own personal sins. So just to read it inside. Besides, all of my neshamas being a place for the soul to live, to exist, the time that it's waiting for the guf, as a waiting room, so to speak. Besides that, and it's also enjoying, as I said earlier. There's also a great benefit, besides just the fact that it's waiting, and also enjoying while it's waiting, but the purpose so far is just waiting. There's also a purpose in its being in Olam HaNeshama. There's something that's gained. There's something of benefit about being in that Gan Eden of the Neshama, which itself is going to benefit, and the Guf also benefits as a result for what's going to be necessary at the time of the Tchiyah, at the time of Tchiyas HaMesim, when they get together. Both the Neshama and the Guf are going to benefit from the fact that the Neshama was temporarily in Gan Eden. What is that? V'zeh. That's because he's going to say the problem first, that the Neshama was not able to fully radiate according to its deserved level because it's connected to the Guf. After the decree was on man that he shouldn't be able to reach his perfection only after death, means even though before the sin of Adam Rishon it would have been possible to go on to eternity without death, but because of the sin it was decreed that he's not deserving of that anymore, and he has to have death in order to get to his full perfection. Even though he deserves it, he deserves that level of perfection of what he did during his lifetime. It means man deserves perfection over the mitzvahs that he did, but he can't reach that perfection in his lifetime because of the sin of Adam Rishon. So he has to go through death in order to get to that perfection that he deserves. If he wouldn't deserve it, and what he did in his lifetime, then it wouldn't help to be in Olam HaNeshama or Tchiyas HaMesim, because he can't do any more mitzvahs over there. The deserving is only, the gaining is only in this world. If he wouldn't have deserved it in the actions that he did in his lifetime, then he never would reach there. Because the only time to acquire perfection is only in this world before that. So if he wouldn't have deserved it from his lifetime, he's never going to get it. So we're talking about a neshama that already deserves its perfection, because it really did do masim tovim in its lifetime that deserve it to be on that level of shleimus, but he's not able to get there only after death. Od nimshach min agzeira azo shaneshama kol zman yosef baguf ha'olam hazeh shara dovuk bo she'efshe she'ipored mimenu legamri tiyeh gam hi chashucha v'amuma. Another consequence of this decree, that man cannot reach a shleimus while before death, it also follows from that the neshama, the soul, as long as it's connected to the guf, and the evil is davuk, bo. Bo means the guf. We mentioned whenever it's going to be masculine, the lashon zach is always referring to the guf. Whenever it's saying feminine, it's referring to the neshama. So the neshama, as long as it's connected to the guf, and the evil is cleaving to the guf, it's impossible for that evil to be separated from the guf until death. Death is what separates that evil from the guf. So as long as the evil is cleaving to the guf and the neshama is bound together with the guf, the neshama is also darkened and dimmed. The fact that it's connected to such a partner, and that partner is Radavuk Bo, that holds back the neshama. But it means even though it's really deserving to be on a very high level of shleimus because of the masim that it did. Even though through the good actions, the Masim Tovim that a person does, it's really acquiring for itself a perfection and nobility. It means it really did acquire it, but still it isn't able to be revealed. It's still impossible for that to be revealed, and the radiance that it really should radiate, according to the nobility that it acquired in truth, it still is not able to give that off. It isn't able to radiate its essence. Everything remains suppressed within itself until the time that it will be able to be revealed. That's the problem of Olam Hazeh, that since the evil is cleaving to the guf, and the neshama and the guf are bound together, so the neshama is not able to let out the radiance of its essence, even though it deserves it. Even though it did actions that should deserve that level of shleimus, it isn't able to radiate it. The ulam eina kava mitzida klal. It isn't the neshama's fault. It's only because it's connected to the guf. Kim mitzada guf. The fact that it's bound to a guf which has such a filth, a ra, that's what's holding back the neshama from radiating its essence. The guf is losing out. The guf is the cause of the problem, and it's losing out itself. The fact that the guf causes that the neshama could not radiate, so the guf is losing out the purification that the neshama would have given it. No, this is what he wants to say now, that the neshama also loses out. That's the point he wants to get to. Gam Himav said this, but the neshama is also losing out the fact that it's suppressed. First of all, it's suppressed. First of all, the fact that it's suppressed, it isn't able to radiate its true essence. And the second thing is that it's not able to purify the guf, and that's a chisaron for the neshama itself. It isn't able to affect the action that it's supposed to, which is to purify the guf. What does that affect the neshama? The fact that the neshama can't purify the guf is a detriment to the neshama. Yes, and he says two reasons. If it would be able to, if the neshama would be able to purify the guf, the neshama would be perfected very much. It will be another shleimus that the neshama would have accomplished by purifying the guf. Why is that? For two reasons. Mitzad mahus hapula atzma, for the actual act. The act of purifying the guf is a noble act that makes the neshama more shalom. The fact that it's doing, so to speak, chesed. It's influencing others to be on a closer level to Hashem. So that, if it would have been able to purify the guf, it would be considered a shleimus for the neshama. It's a shleimus, the act of shleimus to benefit, meitiv u'mashlim, to benefit somebody else, a different being, and to perfect a different being is a shleimus. So in this world, surely we'd see it like that. If somebody is able to perfect, to benefit, to be meitiv u'mashlim, to benefit and to perfect somebody, another being, is considered a big shleimus. So the neshama and the guf also, that relationship that the neshama would be able to perfect, benefit the guf, that would be a shleimus on the part of the neshama, and it's not able to do that, so it's losing out. Another reason why it's losing out, it would have been the pula shleimus if it would have done it. That is the appropriate action that it's supposed to do. That's its nature, and anything that does its nature, that's what it was created for. And any creation is perfected when it does the act that Hashem put into its nature to affect. When it's lacking perfection, if it isn't able to do what it was created for. So 2 points that the neshama is losing out. I mean, you could say two that are three. One is that it's suppressed. That alone is a problem. That the neshama is suppressed, it isn't able to radiate its self. The second thing is that it's not able to purify the guf, and that you could divide into two. That would have been a perfection for the neshama on 2 counts. One is that it's meitiv u'mashlim zulaso, that it's benefiting, improving, and perfecting another being. That's considered a shleimus that the neshama would have had, and also that it would have been doing the job that it was created for. And since he can't do that, so the neshama is losing out. But now he comes to the point that he wanted to bring out, that the neshama benefits from being an olam neshamas. What does it benefit from? That now it's not connected to the guf anymore, so the guf is not holding it back from giving out its full radiance, and the neshama is able to not to be suppressed anymore, and then when it's going to get eventually into the guf, it's going to be able to purify the guf to the maximum purification that the guf could get, and that will be an act of shleimus on the part of the neshama. The neshama is going to be elevated. The fact that it was perfected the guf. When the neshama leaves the guf, now they're not connected anymore, and it goes to the Gan Eden, the Olam HaNeshamos, there it's able to spread out and radiate its shine, according to what it deserves, from all the masim tovim that it did. It's strengthening itself, means the more and more that it's letting out its radiance, it's becoming a stronger spiritual being that was suppressed the whole time. And it's getting prepared for what it's going to have to do when it gets together with the guf. Then it's going to be able to come into the guf when it's going to eventually return to the guf, get reunited. It's going to be able to affect the act that it was created for, and that is to purify the guf. That's going to be the purification. So that's a summary, and chazara really, not just a summary. We did it inside again to backtrack to what we did last time, what the neshama gains from being in Olam Haba. Before we go further, just a very beautiful point that Rabbi Nassim Rutman mentioned in the beginning of this parak. He spoke about mankind. The whole subject is called mankind, and he said that man has the ability to acquire shleimus, and Hashem gave him the opportunities of shleimus and chisara and perfection and deficiency that's available in the world, and he has to make the choice, and he has to acquire shleimus. And then he added on over here that it has to be in his own choice. It has to be a free choice. In order to be a free choice, it has to be equal inclination to both sides. If it wouldn't be equal inclination, he's naturally inclined towards one side, then it wouldn't be his choice. He's doing it because of his instinct. It has to be something that he decides. So it has to be an equal inclination towards evil and towards good. But then in Oz Beis, in Perek Gimel, Oz Beis, he said that in order Olam Hayosa Dovra Azeh Nishlam Karoi Gazra Chochma Yona Sheyoda Morkov Mishnei Afachim Taina Min Neshama Sichlas V'Zakav V'Guf Hatzi V'Achor. In order that this issue should be perfected, it's a Karoi. It should be more perfect, this whole plan. It's not enough that man should be one being that has two inclinations. Hashem made it that it should be a composite of two halves. Man is he's a morkav. He's composed of two halves, a guf and a neshama. He didn't explain to us why is that called nishlam karoi. Why is it better that man is made up of two halves than being one whole? How come he had to be made out of a neshama sichlis and a guf artzi? Why couldn't he just be one being that has an inclination to good and bad? In Os Aleph, when he presented the whole issue, he made it sound that it was a possibility that man would have been a being, whatever you call this creation called man, and he wouldn't have been made up of two halves, with each side inclined to its nature. Man himself could have been one being that has inclination to two things. It's also a possibility. Why was it necessary that man should be made up of a body and a soul? Each one is a different essence, different nature, and each one is inclined to its nature, and there's a war between them. Why is that called nishlam karoi? In order that this issue should be perfected appropriately. What's more of a shleimus that man is made up of two halves than if it would have been one essence? So he didn't explain. The Ramchal didn't explain. So Nassim Rotman pointed out that over here he explained it. He explained in what we just said now, that the fact that the neshama is meitiv umashlam zulaso, that's a shleimus for the neshama. The same way that Tzelem Elokim, man is made in a way that he can emulate God. There are many things we do that we emulate God. But now he said that it's so inherent in man to emulate God that even his own essence is comprised of a native umashlim. That half of a person is benefiting his other half. Half of that person is perfecting and completing and purifying the other half. So the issue of nishlam karoi is that it's more tzelem elokim. It's more a being which is similar to Hashem in the fact that Hashem's purpose in creating the world was in order to be meitiv, in order to be mashlim, and all that we ourselves are doing, not only to others. Of course, a person should do that to others also. A person does it to his fellow man, a person does it to his wife, a person does it to his children, that the person is meitiv umashlim, zulaso. A person even in himself is also comprised of two halves, and he's even meitiv umashlim within himself, that the neshama is meitiv umashlim to the guf. That was a tosefet. We didn't say it last week. I just wanted to add that on. Now, to finish off the subject is Osyud Gimel. V'ulam tzarich sheteda ki gam ata bikanis haneshama baguf ha. That's the question what the next word is. V'guf ha over. Some say ha'ubor. And I have a big chiddush. What?
It's money.
As money. So the word over usually means money, temporary. So the words would translate, you must know that also now, when the neshama enters the temporary body, the temporary guf. So it is true that the guf is temporary. It is going to be tchias hamesim, but the word, the fact that Ramchal put in the word that it's temporary here is very, very baffling. What does that have to do with the subject that the guf is temporary? Others say that it means guf ha'ubar in an embryo when the guf also very difficult. That's not the way the Ramchal ever talks about the guf. So I have a huge chiddush. I didn't find it yet, but I'm convinced that this is the true shot, because in the Das Tunis, another sefer of the Ramchal, when he talks about this very subject, he says 3 times guf ha'achor. So I think it's a printing mistake. Then instead of ha'over, it's supposed to be a chor. The base is supposed to be a chaf, which is not a very simple mistake, and chaf is supposed to be the base, which is the chaf, is supposed to be before the vav, and it shouldn't. Maybe it was written without the vav at all. But I'm convinced, no, beyond the shadow of a doubt, even though I didn't get any haskama yet, that the word is supposed to be ha'achor, and it's clear.
What does that mean?
That means, look in this same parak, in the beginning of this parak, in page 22. So he said, what? That's what I read before. I wanted to stress it, that he says 1, 2, 3, 5 lines from the bottom. Neshama sichlis v'zaka v'guf arzi v'achor. The opposite of zach is achor. Zach means pure, and achor means murky, befuddled, cloudy, whatever you translate it. So that's mamish the point. It's very purposeful that he put the word in over here. And it does Tunis on page 58 to 61. If you look over there, you'll find 3 times the word achor. So I'd like to get askama for this Haggah, but very, very convinced that this should be the correct pshat. So what he's going to say now, just to give a preview of what today's subject is. So far, he spoke about how the neshama should have become more and more radiant as it did mitzvahs. Totally, he spoke about is that as the masim tovim, the more that the neshama does masim tovim, it should radiate more and more, but it's suppressed because the fact that is connected to the guf, and the guf has the filth of the sin, and therefore the neshama is suppressed from giving out the radiance that it should have gained by doing masim tovim. That was everything he spoke about till now. Now he's really backtracking. This in chronological order, what he's going to say now should have been first. He's going to say now that even before man did any masim tovim, even before he did any chait, no sins, no mitzvahs, no nothing, just man was created, there's also the same problem also presents itself. You have Hashem wanted to made man out of a guf and a neshama, and he's putting them together. He's binding together a guf and a neshama. To put together a guf and a neshama, it's not going to work, because the neshama is so great that it's going to purify the guf right away, even before doing any actions, even before the neshama gains more radiance or quality or schus by doing more and more Maasim Tovim, the inherent level of the neshama being together with the guf would also affect it in a way that the guf would get purified. Hashem wanted to make that the man should be on a certain level of spirituality and physicality. What level is it going to be that they're going to be compatible? There's a shidduch going on over here, and let's say the neshama is very, very, very great, and the guf is achur, chashuch, dark. If you put them together, it's not able to stay that way. Either the guf is going to be elevated because it's connected to such a neshama. And Hashem didn't want to make a small neshama. Hashem didn't want to make a neshama that's not so great, because the purpose that eventually the neshama should be on a very great level, even bigger than the malachim. So here's the problem, so to speak. Hashem is creating 2 creations, a physical creation and a spiritual creation. The spiritual creation is very, very great, a very high level of spirituality, and Hashem wants to bind it together with a guf, which is no connection at all, like no shaychus to the neshama. How are they going to stay together in a way that the neshama is not going to affect the guf? If it's going to affect the guf, it's not going to be equal balance. The whole fairness of humanity, that it's a good test, is only because there's an equal balance between the pull of the neshama and the pull of the guf. But if the neshama is really so great in its essence, so it's not fair, and it's not going to be an equal balance. The neshama is going to overpower the guf right away. It's like you'd have somebody, what would be a good mashal? You have somebody who's very effective in convincing people, very charismatic, whatever. I don't think if it's true or not true, but he comes into a place where people they have no choice but to listen to him. If it wouldn't be their doing. You can't put them together and they should stay each one on his own level. That's the problem that would be in creation, even before man did any masim tovim, and even before the chait, even before the sin, even before the mitzvahs, just putting together a creation of a guf and a neshama, that a neshama is very great, and the guf is physical, and it shouldn't be affected. That needs explanation. That needs a solution. How is that going to be done? So the same thing he's going to say now is that Hashem suppressed the neshama, even though the neshama is such a great creation. It's even higher than the malachim, the highest creation that Hashem made, higher than the malachim. But in order to temporarily, in our world, in our lifetime, to be connected to the guf, Hashem suppressed the neshama, that it should be contained within itself, that it shouldn't affect the guf that's going to be connected to it. So the same yesod we said before, he's saying now, besides the mitzvahs, before we spoke about the neshama that it gets more and more masim tovim, it should have gotten greater and greater, and should have let out its radiance and affected the guf, but it can't. So therefore, since the guf is not able to accept that perfection, so the neshama is suppressed in order that it shouldn't affect the guf. But now he says that even without all that, the fact that the neshama and the guf were created and bound together also required that the neshama should be suppressed. Two reasons, two suppressions. One was from the actual creation, the neshama was suppressed in order to enter the guf, and afterwards the fact that it was doing more masim tovim, it should be getting more and more radiation, more greatness, and that also was suppressed because of the previous issue. So just to read it inside, I mean, we'll read it. We didn't read it. We said most of it, but v'ulam tzarich sheteda ki gamata b'konas haneshama b'guf ha'achur אף על פי שלא כנסה עדיין שלמוס במעשיה, הנה מצד יקרה וזרוע העצמי הירואי שתיתן זיכוך גדול לחומר. The word zikuch and achor goes together. That now means, the word now means even before the masim tovim, just the beginning of creation. When the neshama enters the murky, cloudy guf, even though it did not yet acquire any shleimus in the sac, before it did anything, just the beginning of creation when the neshama was joined with the guf. Because of its nobility and inherent radiance, it should have purified the physicality very much. It wouldn't be considered anymore within the parameters of what man's supposed to be. It would have become like a malach, that the neshama would have purified the guf, and it wouldn't be any more equal balance of inclination towards good and bad, because the guf would have become so purified. But Hashem's decree suppresses the neshama, Hashem suppresses it in a way that it shouldn't be so strong, it shouldn't have its shine, and that it shouldn't be able to affect the guf. This is the famous, is he going to bring it? This is the famous chazal that everybody knows, that the moon was diminished. That the moon was diminished. The medrash, I don't think that it's to be taken literal, but it means on a medrash level, the allegorical level. So the medrash says that the moon would have been created on the same level as the sun, but Hashem said, but he said it can't be on the same level, so diminish yourself. So that's what Chazal, that's what the Ramchal says, and that's referring to, that the neshama was diminished, it was suppressed. The same way that the moon could have been on a radiant level, but Hashem said minimize yourself. So that's the remez to this issue, that Hashem told the neshama to minimize itself. What does that mean? That really it's a great being, but it was suppressed within itself, not to give out the radiance that it really has inherently. The word luta is like covered up. The neshama is there, constrained within itself, but also according to the level that's necessary according to Hashem's purpose, the supreme intention. And it is affecting the guf in the amount that Hashem wants. How much the neshama affects the guf according to the state of affairs in this world, that's how much it is. But it's suppressed to the right amount. Hashem dimmed it to the proper amount. Now it goes back to what he better said already in Oz Yud Beis. Even though it was suppressed, but now the fact that it does good actions, good masim tovim, so then it should become radiating more and more. That's the chiddush we said before. And then it would have purified the guf. That's what he said already before, that Hashem suppresses that also. So it would have been the original plan. Yes, it could have happened that the neshama would have, the original plan wouldn't have required that. It could have been that first it was suppressed, the initial suppression, that it should be able to live together with the guf without influencing it. But then if it did masim tovim, then it would affect the guf. But once the man sinned, so then it has to be suppressed until olam haneshamos. But once the neshama is going to be reunited in the guf after tchiyas hamesim, so then it's going to come with its full glory, Lotus might, lotus salim, it's not going to be minimized, it's not going to be concealed. It's going to enter the guf with all of its radiance, all of its strength. As soon as it enters the guf and the initial meeting, the initial reunification of the neshama and the guf is going to purify the guf, a great purification. It doesn't have to go in stages. It's not going to be like a slow process of purification as we have in our world. When the children are born in this world, so then they grow slowly. It's not going to be like that. The neshama enters the guf, it's going to be like a blast of purification that's going to happen immediately. Immediately as it comes in, it's going to illuminate the guf. It's immediately going to purify it very much. But don't think that that's a one-time blast and it got to its full radiance. The guf. This doesn't mean to say that both the guf and the neshama got to its peak. No, we don't mean to say that. It is going to be elevated more and more for eternity. So what do I mean to say that there's a big blast of purification? As soon as the neshama enters the guf, that person means the combination of both the neshama and the guf is going to be a noble and elevated being. The first purification, the first dose of purification is going to come upon the reunification. That's automatically going to elevate him from any level that he was in his first lifetime. What we are now in our lifetime, the guf is going to become purified much higher than anything that we have in this state. That purification is going to be based on all of the maasim tovim that we did in our lifetime. It's going to put him into the level of whatever he deserves to merit the enjoyment of getting perfected. And then it's going to be elevated eternally higher and higher. And then they mean both of them, the guf and the neshama, are going to be elevated more and more according to what they deserve on that level. Each one's going to be on a different lane, so to speak, a different level of aliyah that they deserve because of their actions. So the point that he said in tonight's Tosefet, tonight's edition, was that besides the maasim tovim that caused the neshama to be elevated, there was a necessary suppression of the neshama from the beginning of creation, because to put such a high neshama together with such a guf wouldn't stay that way. The guf would automatically be affected. In order that it should remain a earthly achor, a guf, it was necessary to suppress the neshama, and therefore they could live together. But that was intended that as the neshama does more and more maasim tovim, then it should be able to influence the guf and purify it. But because of the chait, that's not able to happen. So you have to have tchias amesim in order, in the separation of the guf. But the fact that the maasim tovim are really energizing the neshama, so it is radiating more. So there has to be a special suppression for that also, to hold back the level that the neshama gained through its maasim tovim until it's separated from the guf, and then no neshama is able to give out its full radiance, and with tchias amesim it's going to come again to reunification, and it's going to be able to do all that purification that it deserved because of the maasim tovim that it did in its lifetime. That's an explanation of tchias amesim. If anybody wants to see more elaboration, so Adas Tvunis on page 58 until 61, the same issue, but over there it's more detail and gives more of a understanding of what tchias amesim is. Yashikov.